I kind of wanted to go off that first point we just made about you starting your career here and then ending back up here. I mean, it's something that you don't really see much in college sports at all, especially for someone at your position. And so just talk about the decision of coming back. Obviously, a lot has changed since you've been here, but just go more into that decision of coming back to where you started.
Yeah, I think initially when I made the decision that I was going to enter the transfer portal after the season at BYU, transfer portal can be chaotic and you don't know exactly what's going to happen. I think that quickly thereafter I entered, and kind of after everything opened and after I was communicating with coaches, I saw it being a real possibility that I would return here. And then following my visit, I just knew that this was the place for me, and definitely a different track returning back to the school I was initially at. But the changes I felt were so significant that it wasn't really that I was returning to the same school whatsoever. Obviously, same school, of course, but the environment and the things that shaped the experience were so much different. And that's really what made me super excited to return back. And it's been a really great process ever since I've been here. So.
Jason Walker with Cache Valley Daily. What were the things that were kind of most familiar to you coming back to Logan? And then what are some of the things you mentioned? There's a lot of things different. What are the biggest things that have changed?
Yeah. As far as familiarity, obviously the environment's identical. I was up here for pretty much a whole year, and I became familiar with Logan, kind of, all the things that you can do with your free time and stuff, and all the outdoor activities. But other than that, I think the things that have changed are really completely just within the building. Coach Mendenhall, his mentality and his culture is so much different than any culture that I've ever been a part of. And I've really enjoyed, and I felt a lot of personal development for myself. And as far as our team culture and how connected we are, I mean, this is, I haven't been as connected with a team in really ever since I started playing football. So that's been super awesome. And those are changes that are palpable and that you can feel. And I've just felt really good about pretty much everything that has came along with my second stint here at Utah State. So.
Travis Green from ABC4. You said there with everything being different in the building, I imagine the roster is very different. So coming back, what's it like being the quarterback, being a leader with a group of guys that you're kind of just getting to know?
Yeah. There are a couple familiar faces when I came back. But yeah, like you said, mostly completely new roster. And it's, just getting to know your teammates that's a process. Something that was cool is when I came back here, there was kind of an initiation period that required you to get into the main offensive core group of guys with conditioning. And I thought it was really awesome. With the transfer portal, I came in with guys that, had similar goals. Everyone wanted to get into that offensive group or defensive group. And I bonded with those guys. And then once I hit that initial bonding, I was able to further that development or, my connection with guys on the offensive group. And we do that really through doing hard things. I think that's a big way that we all get connected, is we do a lot of hard things here. And that's a big reason as to why I said I feel like this is the most connected team I've been on, mainly because of all the stuff we do outside the building and also because of the hard things that we do together. So.
Jenna Fink from KUTV. Bronco was speaking about how detailed you were in the offseason plan for the offense. Where does that organization and drive come from?
Yeah, I'm a pretty big believer that, action eliminates doubt. And I think that when you have a plan and when you take action in that plan, that you can eliminate any doubt that you might have going into a game or going into practice. And I think that preparation is something that I believe in. And I think that organizing that for a group and making it so we're all working together on a similar plan and we're all on the same page makes it not only that we're dialed in on all the schematics, but also that we're spending time with each other outside the building, spending time with each other when it's not required of us. And I think that just builds our unity. And also builds our ability to play fast. So that's what I believe in as far as that's concerned.
Brian Priest, KSLSports.com. McCae, what is different about you personally over your first stint here at Utah State that will put you in a better position to be able to lead this team to success?
Yeah. So my first go here at Utah State, a true freshman, I wouldn't say I was underprepared. I think that the moment it was a lot, taking that all in at the time. And as compared to now, I played in those games and I learned the lessons that I learned going down to BYU. I watched a lot of football from the sidelines, and really my preparation up to those games, even though I was on the sidelines, was a big thing that has influenced me and where I'm at right now. That was a big thing. And I feel like as far as my leadership, I've done a lot of observing, and I've been able to take action on some of the things that I've observed and the ways in which I think I can push the pin on the development as a team and development for myself. And I think that's been the big thing, just, a natural process of maturity that has occurred over the past few years. And because of that reason, I feel super ready and prepared to let it loose this season.
I think it's been no secret around the country that a lot of people from the outside maybe don't rank the team as high, maybe don't rank you as high as a quarterback. You seem pretty even keeled. You seem like maybe the guy wouldn't affect as much, but I'm sure you see those things. How do you just kind of manage what people's expectations or perceptions are of this program and of you personally?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think you can get lost when you start listening to too many outside voices. And I think that's something that we do really well here as a group. And I feel like that's something I focus on personally, is to just, limit the outside noise. For example, Fernando Mendoza last year would talk about how he didn't have an Instagram account or he would stay off social media. And I think that that's a big thing, because what he's getting at is just eliminating outside noise, because ultimately the only thing that's important is, what do I need to do on the field? How do I lead the guys around me? And I think that as far as expectations for us, I think that we're going to shock a lot of people this year. I'm really excited for that. I think it's a really good opportunity. And I think that we're going to do that by doing what we know how to do. And yeah, just eliminating that outside noise.
Craig Hislop of KVNU Radio. When I came in, I think I heard you say something like, this culture's different than any other culture I've been around. Coach Mendenhall, could you give a few more details about what that means?
Yeah, the level of difficulty in our strength and conditioning program is pretty severe, and I think that really bonds us together as a group. And I think that beyond that, I think the time we spend with each other outside of the building, I think it's pretty rare to have a group of guys that are connected outside of the requirements. I think that it's pretty easy for guys to go home and isolate and, play video games or whatever it might be. But I think as far as teams that spend time with each other outside the building doing things that they all enjoy as a group, I think that we're up there really with anybody in the country. And I think that gives us a real competitive advantage. And I think that, there's times in the season where things don't go exactly your way, and it's not going to be schematics all the time that's going to pull you out of that, but it's going to be your culture that's going to pull you out of those tough spots and those divots. And I think that we've developed a culture, and we have a culture here that's really strong, and it's going to elevate us to a level that we wouldn't be able to get to without it. So.
Hey, McCae, Eric Franson with 106.9 The Fan. It looks like the offense is set up to be pretty run heavy. At least has that potential, experience on the offensive line in this Rhino position too for lead blockers. But how do you factor into that run game? And then how does that potentially help or affect your wide receiver core?
Yeah. Um, I think that just as a group, we're diverse in our ability. I think that we have a very, very talented running back room and our O-line, and our receivers. I think that we're going to present a lot of different looks for defenses that it's going to make it really hard to defend, whether that be in the run game or the pass game. And, like you said, I think a strong run game influences the ability to pass the ball effectively. And I think that we're going to establish that, and we're going to do a really good job, with the support, obviously, of great O-linemen and great running backs. And then off of that, we're going to have a lethal pass game. So, yeah.
Bronco described the wide receiver room as maybe being a little bit thinner than last year. But when you look at the wide receiver room, like what things do you feel like you can do to kind of elevate them as a quarterback to, bring out the talents of the guys at the top, and then maybe help some of the guys who are a little underdeveloped to, fulfill their talents and be ahead of schedule maybe?
Yeah, I think a big focus for me is always accuracy, and I think accuracy solves a lot of problems on the football field, especially as a quarterback. And the more accurate I am, I think it's easier on the receivers. So whoever it is out there, it's my goal just to put the ball in a spot that they'll be able to catch it, and it doesn't make it too difficult for them. So regardless of who's out there, I have full confidence in our whole receiver room. We have a very talented group and guys that know exactly what they're supposed to be doing. So my goal is just to be accurate and be on time. So.
And you mentioned being accurate. I mean, your true freshman season actually wasn't like the biggest strength. You're able to make some big throws, but your completion percentage was like 58, 59%. You had some interceptions. Has that been something that's kind of evolved behind the scenes, kind of realizing, hey, we need to make sure that we're accurate on passes, not necessarily making just some of these big flashy throws?
Yeah. I think that my true freshman season, I think I describe it to a lot of people as it being indicative of my talent level, not necessarily my full capacity and skill level. And I think that over the past few years, I've really developed, and I think understanding how to play the game as a quarterback is a big thing. And I think that aids your ability to have a higher completion percentage. And I mean, I think your accuracy is your accuracy. I think your decision making is obviously going to aid your stats. And I think that my decision making has greatly improved over the course of that time. And I'm excited. I feel as good as I've ever felt, as far as my arm and my ability to make pinpoint passes. So I'm excited for that. And yeah, I think everyone's going to see significant improvements out there. So I think that'll be cool to show.
Carson Hilton with the Deseret News. Can you kind of talk about what the ceiling could be for this offense? I mean, right now it's kind of hard to know because obviously the quarterback room and the receiver room is very different from last year, and not a whole lot of retention there. And from the outside, we don't really know what the connections are like. But you being at the helm and getting that starting job in April, can you just talk about what you've seen and how excited you are for this offense and what you guys could do?
Yeah, I spent a lot of time with the receiver room, and I'm super confident in those guys. And I think we're very diverse in the sense where there's guys you can throw the ball up to. There's guys that are going to run great crisp routes. There's guys that you can target specifically against zone, guys that you're going to go for, throw the ball to specifically against man. And I think that gives me a lot of confidence, because within the receiver room, if you have a bunch of guys that are one-dimensional or that can only do one thing kind of as a whole, then you're a little bit limited out there on the field. Whereas the group that we have, I feel like there's someone specifically for everything. And I know that our coaches are going to put those guys in the right spots, and I'll be able to make the decisions correctly that's going to get them the ball. So I think that's something to be really excited about. And I'm really excited just to start camp. That we've been working on our connection and our chemistry really ever since January, ever since I got here. And I think that I'm just really excited. I mean, that's kind of the only way I can put it as of right now, but I think that our connection and our chemistry that we've developed is going to show out on the field this fall.
We've talked a lot about just, how the program has changed from when you were here last. We didn't talk as much about playing in the Pac-12, having 11 games on national TV. Talk about how much that played into your decision to come back, giving this university an opportunity to really put it on a national scale that it hasn't been at before.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was a massive plus when I was being recruited by Utah State in the portal. I think that entering a new conference it's a great challenge for a group of guys, and it's also something that is within my goals. Obviously, I want to, I want to expose myself to hard things and expose myself to opportunities there that are original. And I think that this being the first year in the Pac-12, I get a great opportunity to do that. And then as a group, I think we all have the opportunity to show what Utah State's made of and show how we've developed. And yeah, I think, like I said, I think it's a great opportunity for exposure, and it's a great opportunity for us as a group.
Kind of going off of that, can you kind of talk about the schedule this year? I mean, especially kind of the challenge, having those back-to-back weeks at Utah and Washington. And like you said, you like a challenge, and coming in as a starting quarterback for the first time for Utah State. Just talk about that challenge both in conference and out of conference.
Yeah, I think it'll be really good for our team. I think it's to be tested at the beginning half of the season is, I think it is as being a blessing. Obviously, we go pretty much right after fall camp, and all the work and development that we're doing over the course of fall camp will show in those initial games, and then being tested early, I think will help us towards the back half of the season as well, because we're going to see what our team is made of, what we do well. And yeah, I think it's a great opportunity. I think it's cool that we're facing 2 ex-Pac-12 opponents. I think that's kind of a cool thing. And I think it'll be a really good opportunity. I'm excited.
Last question. I just wanted to circle back on the running thing. How much do you feel like you will factor in the running game? But also, just how do you feel like you're preparing your body to be able to handle that? Where I know you've had practices and everything like that, but real game experience.
Yeah.
It's been a few years, so getting your body right to be able to handle that kind of pressure and kind of meat that's coming after you.
Yeah, I think it's something that I take pride in. My ability as a quarterback to be a dual threat guy, and I think that Coach and I is going to call quarterback runs when needed, and then also I'm going to use my legs to scramble and to extend plays. So it's hard to say exactly how incorporated I will be in the run. I'm sure, I'll be just as involved as quarterbacks have been in Coach and I system in the past. Then as far as my body, when I played as a true freshman, it's a different speed. It's something that's you're not completely used to. And I think over the course of my college career, I've really developed a bigger frame, and my body just feels a lot better. I played in a couple games last year, and just getting hit my freshman season compared to last year, it's a completely different thing, and you just feel way different. I'm super confident in my body, and it's very stable, and I have really good balance, and I think it's going to be good.